Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another crypto update. BTC is going to 100K, and here's why. If you open the BTC chart, overall, we need to start in the weekly to get it into perspective. And the first thing you will notice is that we actually finished C target, right? C target basically means from the beginning of Bitcoin to the first high, to the first correction, the lowest correction, it forms a C target, which is a Fibonacci extension, essentially what we're using, right? And that's 127K, as you can see over here, that we touched basically, right? So from here, and that's something that is normal, once we hit C target, which we did here on the 161.8 Fibonacci extension, there is a high probability of us correcting at least to the 50% correction level from the lowest point to the highest point, which would be if you take the correction level, or basically beginning of the sequence, which we have to take when sequence is finished, that's the rule, would be to $65,000 per BTC. But that's not what we're going to speak about right now. We are now more in the daily chart and looking at what Bitcoin is doing. First of all, it's doing exactly what it needs to do, and that is correcting lower. After the liquidation event, we started to have a little bit of a run up, a double bottom over here, and then another run up that we actually traded. So we had one SL and one strong TP over here. Closed perfectly fine, monitoring the order books and the sells coming in over here. Here we had a lot of sells at 117,000. So we had a lot of sell pressure coming in here in this area that I just marked out black, right? For the sake of explaining it. And obviously we started to correct below that. Now there's a couple of interesting zones, and why am I saying 100K? So first of all, going from the last correction, which is this one, to the highest point, we have a 50% Fibonacci level, which gives us the 100,449 level, right? So the 100K level. Before that, we have a fair value zone, which is basically the one that held before after the liquidation, which is insane if you consider that fair value zone held a liquidation event and we bounced off pretty strong from here. We retested this zone and now we're retesting it again. So there's two things, especially two things, but three things in total that can happen right now. Number one is we bounce off again the fair value zone and we go higher a little bit, could consider taking a trade. We will look into the order book later to see if they're supporting orders for that. That is scenario number one. This scenario number one will lead to what it will lead anyways, is then coming down to 100K. Or obviously we go directly down to 100K and hold this level, right? We could drop below the 100K level, finishing this bearish sequence, and then start to run up again, or even, and that's now we need to see that in the future, nothing we can say right now, or obviously we start to correct even lower back to the 50% of the whole sequence, which it normally should do, which would sit at $65,000, right? So there's three main important key levels right now, and let's clean this up for a second, just to keep it a little bit cleaner here. The very first level is going to be right now, basically, which is 103,000, right? Then the second one is going to be 100,000, and then the last one is going to be 65. We obviously cannot say that Bitcoin will go straight to 65 from here. We need to see how it reacts, how it continues to build up the structure, and what the price action is going to tell us. For now, what is pretty clear is either this scenario or this one, right? And we are waiting for that. And you can see there's a lot of liquidity missing in BTC since we created these tops. And I'm gonna do something here, go into creative mode. So we have a clean chart setup, and we're gonna go into BTC, which we used this setup for last time. And what you perfectly see is exactly what I was saying, right? Sequence is finished, okay? Our sequence target is hit, and we started to correct lower than that. Now again, for you to see the bigger picture, the whole correction level, which the rule says in this system that we trade, we need to start at the lowest point, highest point, and then it will form a correction point, a turning point, bullish in this sense, which is at 65,000 US dollars per BTC. And that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense because that has happened hundreds of times in BTC, right? That's also why I'm already predicting since 2.5, 3 years that BTC will go to 127,000. We went to 126 basically, right? But we finished the sequence, that's the point at the end of the day, okay? So our next very interesting point for heavy longs is going to be this point, right? Now, the question is, if you, for example, want to get a little bit more of an idea of where are we heading from now on, we can use something, and that's the bearish sequence, right? Let's go into the H4 It's going to be a little bit easier, and you see a perfect break of the trend, right? So for the sake of it, if you want to use a trend line, you see we are forming a trend line, right? Now, the only interesting zone is basically this one, the fair value zone, right? Which is kind of like a support. And if this doesn't hold, it looks pretty dark for BTC. We need to see that now. But since we're already in an active bearish sequence, right? Which is basically not active yet, actually, which is basically this one, right? And for that, we need to drop below the lowest point of the sequence. So if we hold this level now, it can turn around. If we don't, if we do something like this, right, we are activating the sequence, right? We are dropping price action wise or price wise lower than A. That means an activation of the sequence. And once the sequence is activated, the probability of it getting finished is pretty high, right? And our target for the sequence will go here to 79,000, right? Which is then close to the 65K mark, just above it, right? I'm not saying that that's where we're going, but if we get activated, so we are really at the tipping point for BTC and crypto right now, because you can see the whole crypto market just plunging, right? If we go into the crypto section over here, you see -3, -1, -2, -1.6, -18, right? Some of the smaller coins, -14. So altcoins are bleeding, obviously. BTC is bleeding, Ethereum is bleeding. And that's just because at the end of the day, we are now in a perfectly finished bullish scenario. And from there, we need to normally start to react bearish, right? And that's exactly what we're doing. On top of that, you can tell by how low liquidity we're getting at the tops. First top, second top, third top. Like these three highs are very close to each other, right? Which is not very good. But what could happen is basically this here, right? So if you replicate this scenario over here, that's what could happen again. So if you, for example, take the highs that we have, a low that we are creating right now, a double bottom, and then a run up. So basically the same scenario could happen over here, right? Right now, if we win over the zone, this is basically it, right? It's the same thing. We just need to hope now at the end of the day and see if the market wants to at the end of the day, right? Because there's no hope in trading, but for the sake of people that are long in crypto, right? If you are, for the sake of us, right? We need to hold this level, right? So there is a possibility for us to go in and try a buy right now, okay? And you know, I mean, it would be valid, it would be a little bit riskier, but for that we will take the order book in a second and see what smart money actually is doing. But something like that would definitely be valid, right? Just stop loss below the last low of the fair value zone and entering over here and getting a little bit of a pullback. But for that, I think it's already too late, considering that, again, we are already in a point where the EMAs are crossing, and for what I've seen this morning, this early morning, there was no real volume coming in at these levels. So let's check that out for a second. Let me just clean this up so we keep it here for the sake of speaking about it next time, okay? But now if we go into the order book and we check what's happening in the heat map and everything, first of all, you can see we broke the Ichimoku cloud, which is just another confirmation for us to be now in a downtrend. You can see the EMAs crossed. You can see we had a lot of sells here at 117. That's the zone that I've been showing you. We have a lot of sell pressure still sitting here, as you can see. So still until now we have 109 million sitting over here. And again, there's not really anything coming back. There's some buys coming back here. It's for 70 million. And then there's already sells coming in again for 202 million, right? So you can see they want lower, because if we would not get these sell orders over here, right, then okay, we could bounce back. But the more sell orders are going to be booked into the current price, which is already very low, it seems like we just might break through this area and then turn into a very bearish scenario. That's the one that I was speaking about right now. If we break the zone, then 100K is pretty much sure. Let's quickly check here the market monkey and see what we're doing over here. So we are seeing a little bit of a run up in the M15, as you can see. But now if we also go here into the H4, we move a little bit all of this to the side and we move our key levels out. You can see right now there's actually a lot of sells coming in again, 113. Right, and then there's some buys here for 70, but already sells again for 202, basically the same thing, right? But what could be interesting is this zone over here, which is 113 and 3. So if you think about 113 and 3, that would be from where we are right now up to 113. So somewhere over here, right? Which would basically be what I just showed you guys, which would be the scenario of us coming back into a sell area for the sequence, right? So basically, if you take this one, right? And that's what I said before, is we're going to go up again, retest the EMA 200 zone and the sell zone, right, of the bearish sequence, and then get enough power and liquidity to drop it down, right? So yes, there could be a considerable trade right now in the sense of buying it up, but it's very, very risky, right? So buying from here could be valid up to this selling area that we have, right? Is it something you should do? In my opinion, definitely not. So I would rather wait here for a sell in this area, right? And the sell would be exactly as following. So we don't have an active sequence yet, but we could take this high because it was actually a new high, right? So this one is not valid. So we have to actually take this sequence, which is already activated, right? So if we take this sequence over here, target is going to be at 94, so below the 100 obviously. So that would be our target over here, and we clean this up and we take the sequence down where it should go. So this is the scenario currently, and again, we could get a re-entry. So if we move this aside, clean this up a little bit just to make it easier for us, and we take the whole correction level because the sequence is not that strong so far. I mean, this is the activation A and we are below A, which is an activation of the sequence, as I said. But again, this is a valuable scenario, and then what I would do and what I'm looking forward to do is this shorting over here down to either 100K, which we're gonna find probably a lot of resistance, or in that sense support, right? Or even further down. But these are the two scenarios that I'm looking for. I mean, we would start with the take profit at 100K and see how it reacts. But that's what I'm actually looking for right now, is a sell like that. Again, you can buy, it's just riskier, right? We need to see how we are doing on the M30. So right now we're getting 1, 2, 3. We have a bullish engulfing, right? Which is pretty good, right? So we could definitely consider a buy here. But then at the same time, going back to the order book, you can see that here at 105, we're already getting in massive sell pressure, 202 million, maybe a little bit easier for you to see here, which is basically this key level over here, right? So here you can see this these sell limit orders here at 202 million, right? Let's see if they get triggered or not. But yeah, it is definitely interesting right now, guys, and it's a very, very important zone for BTC to see where it continues to go, right? If we go into the total market cap, you can also see we started a very strong bearish sequence, right? We could come back to 3.8 trillion US dollar market cap, which would be another retest of the 50%, another 4%, or even drop more, right? Because last time I did that very positive video, and it's true, we still have potential to go up, but for that, Bitcoin needs to correct either to the 100K or at least to the 100K or even lower than that, right? I don't think 65 is going to happen, but like 80, 70, 80, 90, drop below the 100, regain a lot of power, and then basically go into new highs, right? Until then, it's going to be very interesting. Then obviously we need to check something else, which is obviously what smart money is doing. So let's check that out. We have Hyperdash, right? Let's see what smart money traders are doing right now on Hyperdash. So if you go into Hyperdash trading insights, what we can do is we can, I don't know why it's always cleaning up my added wallets, but we can just add new ones. These are top performing wallets, right? So we add them in and we check what they are doing. They are the most profitable wallets right now. And then we can also go into trader insight. We are live trader feed, and for the live trader feed we should see like a sum up of what these traders are doing, if they are long, if they are short. And I haven't checked actually since a long time, because our buy played out perfectly fine. We took profits, right? And now we need to obviously see, and this is always taking years, so let's just check into the wallets. Okay, So if we go into this wallet, for example, it's a 4 million wallet. It's not trading anything right now, which is probably pretty smart, which I'm also not doing, not trading anything. Here you can see this guy is shorting everything, and he's 47 million US dollars in profit, 140 million on his bank, right? So yeah, I mean, that tells the story, guys. If someone with that much volume is shorting and is right about it, it just makes sense. This guy is longing both, makes 0 sense to me. Let's see, maybe it's a shorter intraday trade. And then we have this guy here with 19 positions, 13 million, 1.7 million in profit. Is that right? Here's 13 million 500. Yeah, okay, so this guy is actually shorting BTC, obviously. Yeah, so it's you can see pretty much you know, what we're saying here is that we are pretty short. Let's try the live trader feed again. Top traders, maybe here on top traders is gonna work better. Okay, so we are 27% long and 73% short of all positions in value. So you can see market is 80% short. Highest is BTC, close to $1 billion in short, 185 BTC trades. Yeah, pretty interesting. So you can see the sentiment very well here, in my opinion. And then also one thing that is positive for crypto is that Besant Treasury said, think both inflation and interest rates will come down, right? So if Besant is saying, and he's the Secretary of Treasury, if he says inflation has to come down and interest rates, right? That means at the end of the day for the Dixie, and the Dixie is pretty high right now, just made a new all high, as you can see. More Feds, Bowman, I vote for a rate cut because I see an erosion of labor in the market stability. That's exactly what we're saying right now. So if we continue to cut rates, yep, and obviously our inflation target, dollar continues to gain, yeah. But if what we just spoke about here, if Besant and obviously we cut rates again, that will inflate the dollar, right? That means we are printing more money. That means dollar becomes less valuable. And that is positive for crypto, right? Because if there's more money and Dixie goes down, there's always a simple rule that you need to understand. Dixie goes down, crypto goes up. Dixie goes up, crypto goes down. And as you can see, Dixie is going up a lot and trending. That's why crypto is down. It's not the only factor, but a big one, right? But if now Dixie comes down again because of what Besant said and continuous rate cuts, then yeah, then that's what's going to happen. Then Dixie is going to come down and crypto is going to go up. So that's a positive thing for the next couple of months in the new year. Then let's say the first Q of 2026, where we could then see a reversal. And until then, Bitcoin probably will finish the sequence going down to 100 or 80K, tumble around over there a little bit, and then go up again. But that's something we need to see right now, guys. There's nothing we can say right now. Also, just to update you, I have closed my SPX position because of the stop loss hit, my holdings, and I sold my pump holdings. So I sold all of my meme coins back into USDC, closed all of my bullish trading positions because I had some swings open in some of these coins over here, which market showed us good bounce back over here and bullish pressure now failed and turned into bearish pressure. And that's how fast these markets can change, right? Just 2-3 weeks ago, before this meltdown over here, I was very bullish. We did not confirm any bullish signs, more bearish signs. So therefore we were wrong in that sense. And that's why we have to get out of it and still profit alongside, right? That's just how trading works at the end of the day, guys. But that's just what it is, right? Now looking into Ethereum, which I rarely do because it basically does the same thing as BTC, obviously. But Ethereum gives a little bit more clarity because it's a little bit more evened out. And it's exactly doing what it needs to do and what Bitcoin is going to do. It's just going to follow this chart down again to the 50% correction, which is sitting at 3,100. And that's, as you can see, the arrow of prediction is already here since a very long time. And that just makes sense where we're going, right? So at the end of the day, it is what it is. That's how it looks. Look more for sells. In my opinion, be careful with buys yeah, be very cautious in the market, guys. If you like these videos, make sure to follow, like, and comment. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section. I read them all. And with that being said, road to 100K, pretty much confirmed. See you in the next one.